Hi crafty friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer. This is my channel where I talk about the crafty things that I get up to. Primarily that is cross stitch and floss tube, but also today I have filmed my first card making, not really a tutorial, but kind of a, making cards with me real-time crafting video. Now, I had some people that were interested in, my card making videos and what I do. I will tell you, I was rusty. So what I've done is basically I got some time to come into my craft room, and then I made a few cards with the new release from Waffle Flower Crafts called Quilted Hugs. So yes, it is quilting and sewing themed. It's super duper cute. It's also got some cats in it, which is always awesome because cats are cute. But I did film this card making in real time. So it's more kind of like a talk and craft with me. It's a very, very, very long video, like super, super duper long. So if that's not your jam, feel free to move on and wait for the next video, or if you want to fast forward, speed the video up, or I will put timestamps down below if you want to skip to different parts of the video. No worries, because this is going to be a marathon today. I made, I think, 2 cards, and I was rusty, so it took me a while to just go through the process. And if I was not videoing things and not getting interrupted, then I could have made the cards a lot quicker. But I thought it would be good if you don't know anything about card making, then it might be good for you to watch parts of it, just because I do go into more detail and explain certain things. But let me know in the comments if you want to leave a friendly comment. Do you like more of the shorter kind of recorded videos that have a voiceover? Do you like real-time crafting? Do you like crafting lives? Let me know. I'd definitely be interested in getting back in my room to make some more cards and sharing that with you. But let me just show you what I got up to. I made 2 super duper cute quilting themed cards. Look at that little kitty. So cute. And then another cat, because I just couldn't help myself with this stuff. But anyways, again, not your jam, totally fine, but if you want to watch through or watch part of it, please do. If you want to support me, please leave a friendly comment. You can also like and subscribe to my channel. That is greatly appreciated. Even if you spend a small amount of time with me on any of my videos, I really appreciate your support of what I do. Everyone is so kind in this community, so thank you so much for watching. And again, if you want to watch the marathon of kind of make a card with me, it starts now. Okay, for the first card that I'm going to make, I'm going to be using the Tiny Textures background plate. This is a die cutting plate that die cuts just the texture on your cardstock. It does not cut around it. So that's actually nice. I like that, because then you can use it in, I feel like, kind of more ways. So I'm going to be using this one. I'm also going to be using the Quilted Floral Stencil. So I'll show you how that goes together. It's a layering stencil to stencil over your background panel. And then I'm going to be using the cat silhouette die. So this is a really cute cat, and it actually looks like my cat, who's fluffy and black and brown, and it has some cute little cat accessories as well. So I may die cut and use some of those. I may also pull in some different elements from the Notions die set and the So Fun die set that they have. So this is the So Fun die set, which has a sewing machine, bobbins, scissors, buttons, thread. It's really cute. This one has larger scissors that you can put together, a measuring tape, pin cushion, larger bobbin. So they're really good just to have both of them, in my opinion. So super duper cute. I'm going to be using Concord and 9th inks to do my ink blending today, and probably for most of my cardstock. If I use any colored cardstock today, I'll be using that as well. You are going to see the reflection of my camera, so I do apologize about that. I do work on a Glassboard Studio glass magnetic mat, which is really, really nice to work on. It means when I'm stenciling, I just put my paper down and I put a magnet on it, and then I stencil over it. Now, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my cardstock panel that I already cut. Something that you could do, which is probably easier, is you could go ahead and stencil first and then do your texture plate cutting. It's really up to you. I already pre-cut these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the stencil that I'm going to use first. And they are numbered. I'm not probably going to be able to show it on camera, but at the top it has a 1 of 3, 2 of 3, 3 of 3. So that's the order that you know that you're going to stencil in. And then also it has little like registration marks where you can line up your card panel. My card panels today are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. And if you don't know about how to cut your own panels, I cut them from just a regular 8 1/2 by 11 piece of cardstock. This is Neenah Classic Crest 110-pound cardstock, so it's nice and thick. And you're just cutting it at 5 1/2 lengthwise by 4 1/4 width, or the short side. Basically, you're cutting it in half to get 4 1/2 by 5, to get 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panels. If you're interested in seeing like basic tips like this, let me know and I can do that. But essentially, that's just getting you one card panel, which I'm then going to use and put on a card base later. And I can show you how to cut and score all of those things as well if you're interested. So I'm just going to line this up. I'm just going to use the little like marks on the stencil that I can see. And then I'm going to use a few magnets. I am just going to kind of wiggle it, make sure that I get it lined up. And there is plenty of room on this stencil to have room for my magnets. And you'll see, because the textured die is meant to like be stenciled on, you're going to see that it's going to look like a quilted panel because the little texture die looks like blocks. So it's all going to come together and look like really fun blocks. So for Concord and Ninth, I only have the mini ink cubes. These are really great if you are on a budget, if you want to try an ink and aren't sure about if you'll like it. I do wish I had the larger ones because they're easier to ink blend from. These are great for like stamping and techniques and things like that, but they are kind of hard if you're using a brush to do your ink blending just because the surface is small. But I'm going to make it work today because I did want to use these colors. I also am going to use this little silicone mat to hold my ink cubes in place, and that's by Simon Says Stamp. So for the first layer, I'm going to use the color Watermelon. So I'm just going to pop it open. It has room for your lid and your mat. I'm just going to take my brush. This is a Waffle Flower blending brush. And the great thing about the glass mat is you can kind of tap it off to the side. It's really easy to clean up. I'm going to kind of start on the side of my stencil with a really light hand and just blend over that area. I want this light because I know that the second part of this stencil is the center, and I'm going to use the Wildberry color for that. You could totally go crazy and do the flowers in different colors, maybe 2 different colors. In fact, we could, grab a yellow and throw it in there. I think that would be really fun. But for simplicity's sake, this is my first time making a card in a long time. I'm just going to make it super easy on myself today and just go really lightly around these areas. And it really doesn't take a lot of time. I also like to, if you don't have a lot of ink colors and you want a darker and a lighter color, just start lighter and then build up color. That's how you can get a darker color. So I might actually like make a few of these a little heavier so that they look a little darker. So like I have a darker one kind of over here, a lighter one over here. I would say if you're going to buy the ink cubes that it is a good idea to get re-inkers. I did buy those over time just because they have less ink in the pads, which means eventually you will need to refill them. I will tell you, I have had these ink pads for several years. And only recently, like earlier this year, I was doing something and one of my colors was needing replaced. So they do last a long time. And they do release new colors occasionally. In fact, just recently they released this set of 6 new colors and coordinating papers and things like that. So those are really pretty. I may pull some of those out today. Again, this is going to be a longer video because I am just talking as I work. I'm almost treating it like live crafting, except that I don't really have an audience watching me, which makes it a lot less pressure. But again, you could even go kind of darker on one side, lighter on the other side. And if your ink looks a little splotchy, just remember it's going to dry back more smooth. These high quality inks from our crafting companies that we love, like Concord and I, Simon Says Stamp, Gina K, you know, Lawn Fawn, any of those kinds of companies, all of their ink quality is really, really good. And it usually gives you a smooth finish. So I'm just going to lift my stencil. And you can see we have some pretty octagon shaped petals. And then to clean it, I literally am going to just take, if I can find where I put it, you should see, I should zoom out and show you my desk. It's crazy. I just take a microfiber towel and wipe it off if I need to. Like if there's a ton of ink on it, I just spritz it with alcohol or even water. I don't know where my alcohol is. Somewhere I have a Mr. spray bottle of alcohol. You can also batch make these. So if you know you want to make a lot of cards and you want them to look the same, move on to your next panel, do this part, and then go step by step and do it in batches so that it takes you less time. I'm not going to do that today, but I could. So I'm just putting the number 2 layer on. This is the center of the petals. The centers are square because again, it's supposed to look like a little quilt block. So this is super easy to line up because one, they're little squares. So it's made to look quilty. So if you are a sewist, quilter, you'll be like familiar with this. So I'm just going to put my magnets on. A lot of people like to use the sticky mats to stencil on. I have those as well. Sometimes this is just easier. I also, for things like this, these little squares are a lot smaller. I will bring in my small blending brushes. I don't remember if I got where I got these ones. They might be like an Amazon find, but most stamp companies have a small blending brush that you can find. I can link some below. So for this one, I'm just going to pop open my Wildberry. Again, I'm going to go real light. This is going to be a lot darker. You can see right here, it's way darker. So I'm going to tap a lot of it off and just go in really lightly because it's super bright. But you're going to see, look how like fast this is going to be. Super fast. Super duper fast. Oh yeah, that's dark. And I just do like a little swirling motion back and forth to try to get the corners. The magnets on this glass board really keep this in place. So unless you have a super delicate stencil, you should be good. But I also just kind of keep my fingers there as well. Okay, easy peasy beautiful. Eee, it's so cute already. And you could leave it like this if you want it to be like, it's supposed to be florals, but it kind of looks abstract like this. I do need to find my alcohol. Where is it, you guys? Oh, here it is. Let me grab it real quick. I keep my alcohol in one of these mister bottles. You can buy them on Amazon or Spellbinders. I know sell Spellbinder branded ones as well, but it just shoots a fine mist. And then alcohol makes a super duper easy cleanup and it dries really fast. So if I wanted to use this stencil again, but a different color, I wouldn't have to worry about my ink like bleeding from the previous one because it cleans up and dries super fast. I do have it labeled alcohol because I have one that has just water as well. Something to be said about blending brushes. I have individual blending brushes for color families. And sometimes
I'll have one for like a light blue and a dark blue, but I don't have one for like every individual color because that's a bit obsessive and pricey. These things are expensive, so we want to save our money where we can. This is eucalyptus, so this is going to be the third layer of our stencil, which is the leaves, our little geometric leaves. Again, I'm just lining it up by the lines, but I can also see on here where it's supposed to go based on the little texture in the background. Like it's lining up with the tiny texture because it's little blocks. So I'm making sure also that it lines up that way as well. So you just have to do a little bit of finagling. There are lots of leaves on this panel. So my magnet is currently going to be covering some of those, but I'll just move it as I go. And then I'm just going to get a different tiny brush. Again, dip it in my little ink. And I could just use the bigger brush and go over it, but sometimes this is more fun and it's easier because you're getting in those nooks and crannies. And again, I'm going to do some darker leaves, some lighter leaves, but you can do whatever you want. And just remember, like, there's no card making police. You don't have to use traditional flower colors. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. Like, it doesn't necessarily make sense in my mind for this card, but a lot of times if I have a stencil set like this that's layering, on the last layer, I may use like a paste or a gel to add some texture. That's always a lot of fun too. I can see my doggies are outside. I have a big window in my craft room. I don't know what. Hi. I don't know what they're doing, but my husband and my, huh? I'm recording a video. Oh, goodness. If you heard that, I'm sorry. I'll try to edit this out, but that's having a little boy. Oh, goodness gracious. That's embarrassing. Summertime here in Texas, so it's stinking hot. I took my kids to the zoo. I have a 4-year-old son and my daughter just turned 1. I took them to the zoo on Friday and it was a really nice day. It was funny though because I got this new cordless Shark branded fan that's rechargeable and it also mists. So I took that with us to put in our wagon so that my daughter would stay cool and, you know, my son would stay cool and whatnot. And you'll see I'm just moving my magnets as I go if they're covering one of the petals. But as for walking around the zoo, like you could see, it was funny because you saw all the moms with their fans and their kids. And so like I saw a different fan that I was like, ooh, what's that? So I'm like asking this other mom about her fan. Went ahead and ordered that because it was awesome. I needed that one for me. And then another mom, a different mom later on, we're eating and a different mom came up to me and was like, do you like your fan? I've been wanting that. It was just funny. It was just such a mom thing. Like, let's all talk about our fans that we use to keep our kids cool in the heat because it's so hot. And I gotta get these kids outside, but it gets so hot here that it is limiting. So gotta have those fans. All right, here is our reveal. Oh, it's so pretty. I got that one a little darker than I like. I love it. It's so cute. Okay, so that was, you saw, that was so easy. And had I not been talking, it would have been faster. So I'm just gonna spray my stencil here. Give that a wipe. I always wipe the front and the back because oftentimes ink will get onto the back. So just be aware of that. Put that back together. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to cut out our kitty cat silhouette. So cute. Looks just like my cat. The fun thing about this is, so what I'm going to do what, like, there's an example on the Waffle Flower website in their promos, and that's a great resource. If you are buying a new product and you aren't quite sure what to do, most of these companies are putting out videos and the photos and things like that. So there's already lots of ideas out there for you. I wanted to do the silhouette style so that we'll see the quilting through the kitty cat. So the only thing I need to decide is, do I want the outside to be this eucalyptus color or do I want it to be white? So I'm going to do both because I'm not sure. So I'm going to die cut my outside panel twice probably, and then we can play around and see what I like better. I use the Anna Griffin Impress die cutting machine. If you are new to die cutting, I highly recommend it, but it is a pricey investment. So if you're looking at a manual die cutting machine that you turn and crank, Spellbinders is my favorite. I have 2 Spellbinders hand machines, and they're a little more versatile because you can then use the Spellbinders accessories that go with them, such as the Better Press system and the Glimmer foil system. The Anna Griffin Impress, though, is an electronic die cutting machine, which means no cranking. It's easy on your wrist. Also, the number one thing I like about it is that it has a magnetic plate that you use, and technically, I think you're not supposed to cut into the magnet plate, but a lot of people, most people do. It's just easier. But also, if you look at my plates from the side, there's like no warpage. If you're a die cutter or if you're not familiar, when you run your die cutting sandwich through your machine, over time, these acrylic plates get bent and warped. So you're constantly fighting that, making sure you're turning them and just keeping them so that they don't get warped, and then replacing them over time. I have had this for years now. I've never had my plates warp. I've never replaced my magnetic mat, although I probably should at some point. It's actually getting a little warped here just in size, but my plates are straight. Like, it works so amazing. I love it. So electronic die cutting machines, hands down, the Anna Griffin Impress is amazing. So if you have questions about that, let me know, but it is awesome. So what I'm going to do, because, oh, I just bit my cardstock. Bummer. How did I do that? I don't know how I did that, but I don't want to bend in it if I'm going to use this one. So I'm just going to cut a new one real quick. I have right here, I'll show you. This is just a half sheet of 8.5 by 11. So I'm going to use my trimmer, and this is the Tim Holtz small guillotine trimmer. And I'm just going to cut it at 4 1/4. This is the trimmer that I use the most, although I'll be honest, I have all of his trimmers. So I'm just going to take my panel, and I'm going to do my best to center my cat, except now I've lost my cat die. Where'd you go, kitty? This is the problem of having a mess of a desk. It's probably underneath. This is real-time crafting, people. Where did I put my cat? Hold, please. It was literally next to me, of course. Okay, so I'm going to do my best to center the cat in the center of my panel here. Because it's magnetic, I'm cutting, and sorry about my head, I'm cutting with the die down. So it's going to, this is how it cuts through the paper. So it's magneted to the bottom, and it doesn't really shift. I know, like with a Spellbinders machine or other manual die cutting machines, which I love, but you're doing a lot of taping unless it has a magnet mat. With this, you really don't need to because it holds so well, which is why I cut into the magnet mat, whereas technically I believe you're supposed to cut with it facing like this. So this is the cutting side, and it would cut up into the paper. I don't want to do that though. I want to make it easy on myself, make it not move. So I'm just going to center my cat here. I might go a little bit of a low center because he's kind of looking up. Give him a little space up there to look. And I'm just eyeballing it. It'll be fine. And then put my top sandwich on. I am going to push down and just hold it until I run it through my die cutting machine. So you are going to hear it. It's right over here. You just hit one button and it feeds right through. I will say with the Anna Griffin Impress, you can't really easily use a lot of 3D embossing folders in it. I have made it work, but I traditionally just grab my Spellbinders if I need to do that. But you'll see it's a super easy process. super clean cut. And there is our silhouette. And then also what's nice about this die is now I have this cat I can use. So this would be really fun to cut out of black or like pattern paper and make some other cards with that piece. So it's nice because you don't have waste. You can use both pieces. So I love that. So, okay, we have our little panel here. And then now we have our silhouette. So you can get the idea. It's going to be super pretty. I don't even think I'm going to cut it on white. I think I'm just going to do this because I think it's really pretty. I did notice that my background panel, you can see it has a little bit of an edge. So really quickly, I'm going to take my cutter again and I'm just going to slice off a little tiny bit off the side so no white peeks through. And that's probably just because when I was cutting, I probably didn't cut perfectly. It's okay though, because that's not gonna matter for this card because we're gonna cover it. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually take some foam dots or foam tape and I'm gonna pop this up and then we can pick a sentiment. So let's do that. Okay, I just for this grabbed some foam dots or foam squares. These are a pretty low depth or dimension, so we won't get a ton of lift, but we'll get a little bit. I believe these are from Simon Says Stamp, these little foam squares. I'm just gonna put some around the corner. And if you want to be economical and don't want to spend money on foam dots, you could always cut this panel a few times from cardstock or use scraps and then build it up that way. I have foam out the wazoo. I'm going to put it on this tail to make sure we get some there. I have card making supplies. I need to be using this stuff, so I'm not going to skimp today, especially because most of my cards are going to go through the mail. I don't want them to get kind of squishy squashed, but another good way to avoid that is to go with the layered version where you're doing like layered cardstock as well. So you can see we're going to get a little bit of a lift, not a ton, but that's okay. That means it will mail nicely. We probably we need any additional postage for this, but you're going to see even in like, you're getting a little bit of shadow there and a little bit of texture and dimension. So I'm fine with that. I think usually I probably would use a little bit of a thicker foam or whatnot, but you don't have to because then it's going to mail perfectly and be just fine. So this is the fun, like tedious part is taking off the little backing papers and then you have all these little papers flying everywhere. I have a ceiling fan in my craft room, literally right above me right now. And I have to turn it off when I'm in here if I'm doing anything that has little pieces, or in a minute, we're going to do our embossing because literally it will blow stuff everywhere. Now, this is where you want to be a little mindful with the foam. What you can do is, this is like a Kathy Zilski trick. Give yourself some slide time. I just got the My Sweet Petunia, what's it called? Glue. I don't remember what it's called. It's essentially the little glue gun for your liquid glue. I avoided getting this for a long time because it's kind of expensive and I didn't think I needed it. People are right. It really is nice to have. And it's nice to not have to squeeze a bottle with your hands. Like, it's easier on your hands. Okay, so I put glue on the back of my dots. That's just going to give me a little wiggle time before I press down so that I can nicely line up my panel here. Something else you can do is you could put this in the corner of your scoreboard or your MISTI and line it up that way. If it doesn't go perfect, guys, it's really okay. So we have the tiniest bit of dimension on there. This would be really fun too to make a shaker card with. So put, what's it called? Your clear packaging or your acetate, that's the word I was going for, on your cat and then put some shaker bits back. You'd have to put some more depth behind here to get it to shake, but that would be a lot of fun too. Okay, so there's our cute little super simple card. If I wasn't talking and was just doing it, I don't know, a few minutes to make, not very long at all. So that's awesome. So going back to our stamp set, this is the Quilted Hugs Sentiments stamp set and matching die. What I like to do is I'm just going to pull them out because then I can lay them out. I'm sorry for the crinkly sound. What you can do is if you wanted to leave room, you could put your sentiment around the edge, or I'm going to put it right in the middle. Let's see. There's also the smaller set. This is goes more with the postage die, stencils and stamps and all that. But you could use one of the little things from here too, or you could use all the little scenes to decorate the outside of your card. Let's see. I think piecing together a little hello for you. Ooh, or this is good. I think I'm going to do So Glad We're Friends because it's small, so we're not going to lose quite as much of our background because unfortunately we're going to lose that big pretty petal right there, but that's okay. So let's do that. And something you can do if you aren't sure is kind of lay it out there. Now we get to decide, whoop, hello, come back. Now we get to decide, do we want to do this in like black with white embossing powder or go with the juniper again? I think for starters, I'm going to do black just because, I don't know, just because I want to. So what I'm going to do for embossing, find all my stuff first because it's hiding. Sorry, my arms are in the way because I'm grabbing stuff. I always either put my embossing powder into a, like put it back on a piece of paper or a coffee filter or something like that. But I just have some really nice, heavy black cardstock. This is Hero Arts Pitch Black cardstock. So I'm going to take my powder here. This is the Rabbit Hole Designs powder. And that's just going to keep our embossing powder from sticking where we don't want it. This is nice because it slides up, closes it. Anti-static powder, that's what it's called. Then I'm going to take my MISTI. A MISTI, if you aren't aware, I realize I need to cut this panel down so it fits better in my MISTI. If you don't know what a MISTI is a stamp positioner tool. And I will tell you that the MISTI is one of the first things that I bought when I first learned to stamp. And it is the #1 thing that I would tell people to get if they want to get into stamping. Just because it is going to make everything easier. Like, honestly, I know people still traditionally stamp with like wood blocks or they have other things, but this is just so much nicer to use. So it's basically, you gotta open your little door, put your paper down in here. It's okay if it overhangs a little. I'm just gonna put it right up here. Close my door. My little stamp's going to stick to it there. And then all MISTIs come with some sort of magnet, so that holds your paper down so it doesn't shift. But that's what's nice about the MISTI is you put your paper in. If you miss stamp or don't get a good impression, you can just re-stamp. It's so nice. This is a new, I just smashed my card. Guys, I got too much stuff on my desk. This is me trying to make card videos. This is a new stamp. So new stamps when they're manufactured have like a coating on them. There's like little sticks you can buy to get the stuff off, but really just just need to kind of give them a good rub with your finger to get them conditioned. Also, the ink that we're going to use to heat emboss today is going to help that as well. But we may need to give it a couple stamps so that we get a good impression. So I'm using Versamark Watermark pad for my embossing today. So I'm just going to give it, it's a sticky ink that allows the embossing powder to stick to it. I hope you don't mind. I'm talking to you kind of more like you may not know what any of this is, because I don't know. I don't want anyone to feel like, I don't know what she's talking about. So you're just going to stamp that with your ink. It's a clear ink. Press it down. I like to give it just a gentle press, especially with text. You don't want to press too hard, and you can see really well that I got a really good impression right there. But if I didn't, I would just ink it up again and restamp it. So I'm going to leave that in here just in case we have any uh-ohs, because that could happen. And then I'm going to take my embossing powder. I'm going to use Simon Says Stamp Fine Detail White. Again, a coffee filter is a really good tool to have here. And I'm just going to pour it over there. And before I like tap it off or dump it off, I'm going to let it sit for a second, give it a little tap on the bottom, but really give it a second to actually, you know, stick to the ink. Then I'm going to pour the majority of it in back into my little jar. What I didn't gets caught by my paper. And then you'll be able to see on your paper if you didn't have any places that got embossed, if, can I zoom in at all? There we go. If you didn't have any places that didn't get embossed, or if you had any stray embossing powder. That looks really good though to me, so I'm gonna call it good. And don't worry about the white powder from our heat embossing gun, because that we can wipe away. Once it's completely dry, we can buff that away. And also, we're gonna die cut around this, so you're not gonna see a lot of that. So I'm gonna heat emboss now, so excuse the noise. I am using the Wow heat embossing gun. This is the first time I've used it today, so I am gonna turn it on and let it warm up for a minute before I bring it to my paper. That's gonna make sure that we don't have warping on our paper or anything like that. Again, we are going to cut it down so it's not gonna be a big issue, but you want to avoid warping. So you'll see that I'm going to move it around my paper on the front, back, kind of turning it and constantly moving it so that it doesn't warp my paper. You'll be able to see when it's melted, it'll turn bright white. So I'm just kind of shifting it back and forth until it's all melted. You don't want to hover too long in one area, because you can melt it too much where the embossing powder actually melts into your paper. I also, when I'm done with my heat tool, if it's been going a long time, I set it to the side on this kind of silicone mat. That's a little silicone paw pad from Simon Says Stamp. But we are all good with that now. So there's our sentiment. And then we are going to die cut it. What's really nice about Waffle Flower, one, their dies are not tabbed together. So we're gonna crinkle again, so I apologize. Meaning you don't have to cut the dies apart. As far as I know, I don't think they are. None of these are. Also, when they do their combos, like, oh, I don't know if I can get this out. When they do their combo stamp and die sets, it comes in a really nice pocket that you can store both in. So that's really nice. So we just need to find the die that matches our sentiment. I think, is it this one? Yes, I think it's this small one down here. And it gives you a nice, my paper did warp a little bit, but it's not going to be a big deal once we die cut it and put it on the foam. So you can see it's going to fit nicely in there. So again, I'm just going to pull my impress machine over. And this is where it's nice to have the magnet, although I will tell you it is, because my paper warped a little bit, it is not sticking super great. So I'm going to grab some Easy C highlighter tape and just put a little tape around it just to make sure it doesn't shift. This is what that looks like. This is great for paper crafting because it doesn't rip your paper. So we'll just put a little piece. I'm going to do one more on the other side. Normally I wouldn't worry, but it did, my paper warped from the heat a little bit. So I'm just going to stick it down, put my top plate on. I always give it a little check too and press it to make sure it's still in place. Run it through the die cutting machine. And there we go. Put my die back before I forget. There, we have our little die. And I'm just going to take that same microfiber cloth that I use to clean my stencils and stuff and give it a good buff. You could use a paper towel too, but just make sure your embossing powder is all the way dry. So give it a couple minutes. I have done this before and I completely smeared my sentiment and had to redo it. So I like that. We're going to see if it looks good on our card. There. I think it might be a little softer if we did it with the juniper. But that's okay. I like it. So let's go for it. So just going to grab those same dots that we used because I want it to be the same height. So I want to make sure I use the same depth of foam. 2 little dots are going to fit perfectly on the back of this. I just use my fingernails. My fingernails are so short and terrible right now, but if you feel like you need something, you could always use some tweezers. And then I have tweezers that I use for this, but I'm also going to just eyeball it. So pardon my head. Because we could go play with, no, I think it needs to go kind of center. I think you still get the idea that there's petals behind the kitty cat, even though we're covering that main one right there. Okay. There's our little first card front. I think it's super duper cute. Next time I want thicker foam though. I love it. So the last thing we're going to do is we're just going to add it to a card front or card base. I mean, what I will do is I will just pre-make a bunch. So I have a big stack right here. They're not folded yet, but what I do is I take, again, my 8.5 by 11, you can see the mess, my 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I cut it in half long ways, and then I make top folding cards. You can also do it, cut it the short side and make side folding cards. Again, let me know if you want a video with basic tips and tricks and how-tos for cutting, making your own card bases, things like that. Again, it's fairly easy, but some people get a little nervous about it. So I do have my little card base. I've already cut it and then I've scored it at 4 1/4 so that I will have a 4 1/4 by 5.5 top folding card panel. And then I also am going to get my bone folder so that I can give this a nice fold. I think I've always heard this. I don't know. Tell me if you know something different. But when you have your crease here, what I do is I will fold it, making the valley, so the indented part, into the mountain. I don't know if that's right. And then I line up my kind of bottoms here. Is this the right size? Did I score this right? And I said that wrong. It's scored at, this one's a little off. This is where it's fun when you make your own things, because I can tell it should be scored at 5.5, and it's scored a little bit off. So I said early 4.25, but it should be scored at 5.5 to get the top folding. So pardon me. And I think I scored it a little bit funny because it's not folding right, which is fine, because what I can do is either trim it. I can trim my card base. I can make a new one. It's not really going to be a big deal. It is really funny though. I don't know what happened with that one. Let me just grab a new piece of paper and I'll just show you. How to do it real quick, because I don't know what's wrong with that one, but it's funny. Before I moved, so I moved last year, and I made myself like a crafty kit. I'm going to use my longer guillotine, or not guillotine, my longer rotary trimmer, just because I grabbed it. But when I moved last year, my husband had to leave. I had a newborn at home. I was by myself. I made myself like a crafty go kit to try and make some stuff. So I mass produced a bunch of stuff. Did I end up using any of it? No, but I made it. So I don't know what I was thinking back then. I was probably like sleep deprived out the wazoo and crazy. Look, there's the mess. So it's okay if you get messy. It looks all pretty when you zoom in, but when you zoom out, it's a mess. So I just have a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. I am going to cut it at 4.25. That's right in half long ways. So then I have 2 long pieces. And then I'm going to take my scoreboard here. Mine is kind of bigger. I need one of those smaller ones. I'm going to take my bone folder, or this scoreboard does come with a little orange piece. And then I'm just going to find the 5.5 mark on my board, because that's going to be in half where I will score it and be able to fold it. One thing I do, which I learned from Gina K Designs, is when I score it, I am pulling it down slightly. So you can see, like, if I bumped it right in the corner, I'm not going to get it scored very good right at the edge. So I pull my cardstock down a little bit, and then I can fit my bone folder right into that 5.5 mark up there, and you're going to get a better score across your card. It's just going to make for a nicer, easier fold. So let's see if this one's a little bit better. Yeah, that's a lot better. I think I scored that one maybe a 1/4 of an inch off, or an 1/8 of an inch off. So those might end up being scrap or something, or smaller cards I cut down. I folded it, and then I'm going to take my bone folder and just run it along. Give it a nice press. Again, this is a heavyweight cardstock, so it makes for a really nice card that does stand up. I like a top folding card, but you can score it and cut it the opposite way I just did, and you'll get a side folding or a bottom folding card, like is more kind of traditional. I'm going to take my glue. I'm just going to run some glue around the edge of my card. In the middle. Be generous. I'm generous with my glue. I just, try not to get it to ooze out. I'm still getting used to that glue gun thing. All right, and then I just do this by hand. Sorry, my head's in the way. But I'll just press it down, making sure I hit the corners. I kind of flip it over, making sure I don't have any hanging over, and then I'll just give it a nice press for a minute. Now, I leave the insides of my cards blank unless there's a specific sentiment I want to have in there, one that like goes with the stamp set or something like that. But traditionally, I leave the insides blank just because then I can write whatever I want to write. And my glue is not, it's not sticking. I might need to add some more glue. I've never used the glue that comes with this before, so it's Nuvo glue, I believe. Yeah, it comes with Nuvo adhesive. So I'm not familiar with using that as adhesive. I've used their other products, so I don't know if it needs a little more because it is not sticking. Or at least, I just don't think I got that corner. Let me get some more. It's a really, really fine tipped applicator, which is great because you can get into those little corners. But I think I just needed to add a little bit more. A little bit more, and that's okay. Let's stick for a second. You can also put something heavy on top of it, like a, if you have old acrylic blocks from your stamping, things like that. That corner just does not want to stay. So let's sit something on it. Find a block. I don't know where my blocks went because I use them for small stamping. I don't have a ton, but make sure it's clean. We'll just set that on there for now. The last thing I do when I'm doing a card is I do have a little stamp that has like my Instagram on it. So I'll put that on the back just so people know who made it. I don't get upset if people throw my cards away. They're cards. I mean, once it leaves your possession, it's not yours anymore. So that doesn't bother me. So anyways, we're just going to let that dry for a second. That's better. Now we have a cute top folding card with our kitty, and then I'll just quickly stamp the back. I have this just on a stamp, on a block, I mean, in the box, and I don't put this in my MISTI. I just grab a fun ink color. We'll do the wild berry that we used earlier. I will like press it in there. This is a stamp I believe I got from Tailored Expressions. I think occasionally they would do like a you could buy a personalized stamp. I'm not sure if they still do that. If they do it occasionally, not all of the time. Let me just grab that cardstock that's going to end up as scrap because I scored it wrong. I just always do a little tester. But these are, what do you call it? They're rubber stamps on clean foam, so you can use them in your MISTI, which is super duper nice. And if it's not perfect, it's fine. There we go. Nice. It's just my Instagram. So I'll let that dry. So there is our first card using products from the Waffle Flower Quilted Hugs release. I used the cat silhouette die, the stamp and die combo, and the Quilted Florals layering stamp set, as well as the what was it called? Tiny textured background plate. So super duper fun. You can see how we can use this a lot. There is also a dog silhouette. So I have that as well. So if you are a dog person or are giving this to a dog person, they have a dog as well. So I'm super excited. So I do need to press those corners down again, man. I might have to set my block on there for a while. So anyways, thank you so much. I will do, again, timestamps. I'll probably do timestamps per card, because I might have to take a break and go do mom things for a minute, but I really like it. Okay. All right, everybody, I am back for my second card. I hope you caught the first one. Again, I'm going to put timestamps in if you want to skip through to, you know, between the cards and things like that, or in between different parts of the cards. This time I'm going to use the Fabric Lovers die and stencil set. It's this super cute kitty cat. I'm also going to use the patchwork stencil, layering stencil set, which goes along with our like tiny textured squares that we previously used. And then I'm going to kind of do some masking to get a little bit of a different look. So let me show you what I'm going to do. So first I'm going to take my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 tiny textured panel, and I apologize, I didn't open this before. I have picked some new colors. So from Concord and Ninth, for this card, I'm going to use Sorbet, Buttercup, Eucalyptus, Marmalade, Clementine, maybe Mushroom Dove. I might change a little bit of these as I go, just depending on what I decide to do. But this is going to be a super fun card. Again, I'm not sure why I'm so drawn to the cat cards today, but I feel like if you are a crafter who has a cat, you've probably had a cat sitting on your fabric or sitting in your supplies, so you know exactly how it is. So again, these are these layering stencils that are numbered 1 through 3. So I'm just going to first line up and find my first stencil. I have already pre-cut my little tiny textured panel, so I'm just finding my first stencil and lining it up again using my magnets to hold it down. Where did my magnets go? Here they are. Ah, they're really strong magnets. If you have a Glassboard Studio mat, you know this, but if you don't, these magnets are super duper strong. All right, so I'm just lining it up. And again, I'm lining it up with the edges of my card panel, but I'm also paying attention to like lining it up around the squares of the tiny textured, because that's what it's meant to look like. So it might be a little off if you line it up on the outer corners, depending on if you cut your card panel good or bad, which mine was a little bit funny. So as things are, I tell you what, I have a hot mess in this craft room already, and I've only made one single card, but that's okay. It is happy mess. Okay, so I'm going to take my larger brushes this time and just start. And I'm just going to, again, keep it simple by doing one color per layer for this. So I'm just going to start with Buttercup. And I have a yellow brush for Buttercup. And if you want to see kind of, I already cut my little kitties out, so I'll show you that part next. So I'm going to do my background first though. So I'm just, again, it's a little bit easier if you have the larger ink pads, but that's okay. I tap some off and just go gently. Again, if you want to, you can do a heavier hand if you want to build up color. For some of these, there's some really small squares over here. I may come back in with my smaller blending brush and add color that way. And again, my magnets are holding this pretty well, but I am going to go ahead and use my hands too. That just makes me feel better anyways. If you're someone that doesn't like to get inky, you may want to do the sticky mat. Or, I mean, you could tape this down, and I've done that plenty of times. But this is so easy just to use the magnets that I just fly by the seat of my pants. And if it's not perfect, we're going to cover a lot of this up anyways. So it's going to be fine. And I did say I'm going to do some masking. Which I forgot to do. Let's just be honest. So I'm going to rethink that for a second and figure out what I'm going to do. I have a plan though. I was going to mask this off and only do the stencil on the bottom half, but since I forgot to do that, I have another idea and it'll be just fine. So if you make a mistake or things don't go to plan, it's fine. I've never had someone come back and tell me my card was terrible, even if they thought that. They might have thrown it away and that's fine, but I don't know that. Really, I mean, if you're a card maker, you're doing this because you enjoy it. So, and I'm not worrying about it being kind of splotchy in some areas because, again, it's going to dry back really nice. And it is, I kind of like that, like, texture a little. Woo! There went my brush caddy. Hold, please. I got to go get that. I got too much stuff stacked precariously. You're getting the real deal. I kind of feel it's actually kind of fun to sit here and do this. So if you're bored, again, just fast forward or speed that up. But I kind of feel like I'm crafting with a friend because if people watch this, it kind of is. So we're going to pull that off. I'm going to clean all these a little bit later just to save some time. So we have our first layer. You could stop at any point too. So if you like how it looks at one point and don't want to go on, then just don't. All right, our next layer here. You do want to make sure that you are facing your stencils the same way every time. So the top up here is textured with the name and number. So you want to make sure that you're doing that each time. Otherwise, you're going to stencil in the wrong spots and you'll stencil over your design you've already done. So just be careful about that you're flipping your stencils the correct way. It should be, to make it easy, you just want to be on the top of the stencil where it says up here which one it is. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. It's hard to tell, but it is like debossed up here. Okay, for the next one, I am just gonna do, come here, sorbet. Sorry, my arms are in the way, but I don't know what's going on, but my phone is blowing up. This is like a pretty, like maybe, I don't know what to call it, a dark coral? Orangey pink, I don't know, it's pretty. Again, if you wanted to get really crazy, you could go in and do lots of different colors on one stencil layer. I feel like that would be fun to do a rainbow card. Or like ombre or something. You can get real creative. Do whatever you want. These kinds of stencils and things make it really easy to have a good result. So like for me, I haven't crafted or I haven't made a card in a long time, and I'm still really happy with, you know, my first card I just made, and I'm sure I'll like this one as well because they take out the hard part for you, but then you can add in, you know, other parts that, you know, take it up a level. And I'm getting some white spots, but again, I'm going to go back in with my little brush and do some darker bits here and there and lighter bits. So I'm purposefully not trying to get even coverage, if that makes sense. That's what happened earlier, is I knocked this whole thing off. I have a little, one of these brush caddies. It's nice, but that's what I knocked off earlier. Life. Kind of want to get a dark one up here. And I can tell my stencil isn't like perfectly lined up. I think it's going to be fine though. Yeah. So I need to get some splotchiness right there, but we're not going to see that because I'm going to kind of not mask it all because I didn't do that, but I'm going to cover that up. Okay. The last stencil is the third one. And it's just filling in, oopsies, And see, I had it backwards because I was like, why isn't it lining up? I had it backwards and upside down. So make sure you have it right side up also because it wasn't lining up. Something wasn't quite right. But we're good now. Okay, start there. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and use my eucalyptus. I don't know if that color combo is gonna be weird or not with these two. We're gonna just see though. If you don't like it, you can always start over. But again, it's gonna be just fine, I think. If you're interested in learning about color and things like that, Kathy Zilski does, whenever she does her videos, she does a great job of talking about color theory and how she, you know, picks her colors. She's going off, you know, color theory. She really, you know, is a designer and knowledgeable about that sort of thing. So that's super interesting. And, you know, I obviously want my colors to go together, but also I kind of fly by the seat of my pants. And if it doesn't work out, it's just paper. So we can start over. But definitely, if you are not watching her card making videos, definitely go watch her because she is so smart and creative when it comes to her designs and just the whole process. And I did get some splotches on this one, but that's okay. Remember, it's gonna dry back. I might just go in here and kind of add some more color in a minute. That's why it's nicer to have the larger ink pads because I feel like you can just get a little bit more ink on your brush, whereas I feel like with the smaller ones it's a little harder, but it's going to be just fine. Don't stress. Crafting should be fun. If you hear my baby crying in the background, I do apologize. She just woke up from her nap. But my husband is graciously manning the kiddos so I could do this. I'll be excited when they get to the age where, I mean, my son loves to craft, but I'll be excited too when he's to the age where he can kind of be a little more, I don't want to say advanced, like he's not good at things, but you know what I mean? Like, let's move past just the crayons and watercolor and like do some little more advanced things. That'll be fun. Okay, let's see if oh yeah, I do like that. I think it's pretty. That's fun. And I don't mind that that's dark down there. I like that. I think it's fun. It's different. Okay, so there's our panel. The next thing we have to stencil is our cat. So the die cuts out in one piece. And it does kind of cut down the middle. So if you wanted, I do think you could cut this out of different colored cardstocks and then piece it back together. However, they've already made it super duper easy by giving you stencils to color this cat in. So we are gonna do that. So again, it's a layering set, just like the other ones. For the stenciling of this though, to make it easier, I'm gonna tape it back into the cardstock that I cut it out of. And that's just so that I have a little bit more like surface area to work with, and it'll just be a little easier to finagle. I gotta find my tape on my desk again because y'all, I zoomed out earlier on the last card and you saw it was craziness. It didn't have to be perfectly taped in there, but I'm just gonna put some tape on the back, and that way I just have a little more area to like hold on to and stuff. Did your teachers yell at you when you were younger and you would say words like stuff? Like we weren't supposed to say stuff. Like we're supposed to be, I guess, smarter. All right, so again, they are numbered. So now you got to do some thinking. Like, okay, so this first layer is the cat stripes, the cat's kind of inside face here. And then his, it's like his whole face. How do I explain it? So the whole cat body is on one stencil, and then it does the blankets or the fabric. So you have to think about what colors you want for each. So one is kind of like the main body, one is the stripes of the cat, one is the inner face and inner ears of the cat. So you kind of do have to think about what colors you want them to be. I am going to do an orange kitty because, one, I think that is fun. And I always think of my friend's orange cat. For this, I am going to use my little brushes just because it's a small area. So I'm going to do his bigger part of his main body in Clementine, but I am going to try and tap a bunch off and go lighter if possible. I'm going to show you too what I'm going to do for the eyes. I think you could poke the eyes out. Let me see if the eyes are in the stencil. The eyes are not in the stencil, so you could like probably cut them out easily. I'll just show you what I'm going to do. Okay. So we have our little, oh, and that's actually really cute. I kind of want to leave it and leave his face white. I might just leave his face white because I think that's actually cute. But let's do our stripes. So you just have to be careful to line them up. It's the stripes on his body and his whiskers. And I will try to get it in frame, but it is small. It's a small stencil. Hey, come here. Okay. Come here, kitty cat. It's a little finagly to get it lined up. So this is the stripes on his head, his back, and then also the outer corners of his ears. So I'm going to do the same color. And you know, I think to keep it even simpler, I'm just going to go darker with my Clementine. I grabbed Marmalade, but I don't think we need it. I think we can just go dark with the Clementine, and then you know it's going to blend well and match well because it's the same color. We're just using a heavy hand. Okay. Woo. Oh, he's so cute. I love him. Okay, the inner ears, I did forget to grab a pink. I'm going to do a little peachy kind of pink. Just grabbed Creamsicle, which is just lighter. I am going to use the same brush. I'm just going to really rub really well and get a lot of that Clementine ink off. And I can even use my little scrap paper over here to rub it off to make sure I'm all good. So let's see. Inside, I'm just gonna do for now the little inside of his ears. There's Clementine. It's a little more, it's a little more orange than I want. Hold on, I'm gonna switch colors. Dug out. I'm just gonna do ballet slippers. That really is like a baby pink. And for that, I'll just switch brushes. I also have these from Simon Says Stamp, which are like a little tiny detailed brush. So I'm just gonna rub off any ink. I can hear a dog at my door. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, this is gonna be better. I can tell. All right, just line it back up here. So I'm not gonna do his face. I'm just doing the inside of his little ears. I'm just gonna hold it down. There we go. Oh, I didn't get it quite lined up. You see I have a little white line right there. It's fine. I'm just gonna put it back on there. And line it back up. And go again. That happens sometimes. There we go. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to come back to his face later. The next number 2 is, oh, I did want to point this out too. It tells you on here light on your stencil and medium. So that's like light color, medium color for the fabric. So again, you could just use one color and go back over it with the same color, just darker, which is probably what I will do. Okay, so for the first layer, I'm going to go back to my eucalyptus just because I used it below. I want to pull that color in. I probably still have some ink. Yep, I still got ink on my brush, so I'm just going to go light, like they said. Can kind of grab it back over there. Okay. Got a little splotchy, but it's okay. The second one on this stencil is the middle piece of fabric. Or blanket pile, whatever they're sitting on, you want it to be. Let's go back to sorbet. And then the bottom, I'm going to do Buttercup. Princess Buttercup. Anyone? Anyone get my reference? My brushes are kind of stiff because 1, I haven't used them in a while, and 2, I don't wash them that often because I'm a lazy crafter. So I just rub them with my finger, but occasionally it's a good idea to give your brushes a little bit of a spa day. I just use some water and maybe some mild, like, honestly, I think I just use like baby shampoo or Dawn dish soap, but I just use the tiniest amount, and then I get as much water off them as I can, then leave them to dry. Okay. So there's our first layer. They're happy colors. They're so bright. Okay, the second layer is our details of our fabric. So starting out with our little eucalyptus layer, which is like the polka dots, and you will be able to see because it's going to line up with those dots. I'm going to hold mine up a little so I can have 2 hands to kind of wiggle that about. I'm going to take my brush and first use whatever I have left on it. Doesn't look like I have much left on it. Actually, And you don't have to use the same color, but it sure makes it easy. I tell you that. On that yellow layer, I may go and do like the orange details. Where's my lid? Okay. Done with you. I didn't get it quite lined up, but again, no one cares. Okay. It is pretty easy to line up, but it's, if you're off a little bit, it's not a big deal. Okay, this was our sorbet layer. This is why it's nice to have these smaller brushes, and you can find them, lots of companies have them, to get into those little tiny spaces. Cute. Be fun to make this like the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland. Okay, I think I'm gonna do on the yellow one just because I don't know, I want to. I'm gonna do creamsicle. So I'm just gonna rub off any extra ink. So instead of using just more yellow, I'm gonna put creamsicle on here just for funsies. It's just gonna make it yellow and orange. Again, if you get some splotches, it's okay. It's gonna dry back. You can try to smooth it out though. But that's also why it's good to start off on your stencil and not directly on your paper. Fun! I love it. Okay, for her little or his little face, what I'm going to do is I am just going to take, you can punch it out if you want to. If you have like a pokey tool, that's pretty easy to do. So you could also use a marker. I'm looking for my pokey tool. Okay. I'm just gonna carefully poke the little eyes out. But I really don't want to inlay these back in. Inlaying meaning cut it again or use marker on it and put it back in. I'll show you what I'm going to do instead. It's just tiny, so I just don't want to mess with that. Oh, and my tape is covering my nose. That's why it wasn't coming out. There we go. Okay. Get off, tape. Okay, so you can see my little eyes and my nose are poked out. What I'm gonna do though, because I don't want to fuss with the little pieces, I am just gonna glue a larger piece behind its head because that to me is a little easier. So I'm gonna take, let's see, where's his little facey? This is my black cardstock that I used earlier for my sentiments. I'm gonna just take a little strip. And I'm just gonna glue it behind. I'm gonna end up popping up my cat anyways, so this to me is easier than fussing with the little inlays. If you don't mind doing that, then go for it. I just don't want to do it. So Just gonna very carefully glue around it. I am saving some room for my nose because I'm gonna do the same thing with my nose and mouth down there. So really, realistically, I could have cut a bigger piece of black if I wanted the nose and mouth to all be black. If you get a little glue squidging out, it does dry clear, but you can also like take your pokey tool and try and scrape it out too. So cute. So again, we could do a little black. Actually, yes, we're doing that. I could have just done one piece. I wasn't sure. I thought I wanted to do a pink nose. And then when I saw it, I was like, you know, I just like the black. So we'll just cut another little square. And it'll be so cute. And no one's going to see the back. It's like your cross stitch. No one sees the back. They're not looking at your card. Backs, because it's going to be glued down. I'm just holding it. So cute. I love her. Okay. Okay. So my intention with the card was to mask off the top of this. Zoom out just a little bit. To have it white, but I forgot to do that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to cut this and then take another white one that I have and sandwich them together, glue them on my card back together. I want to give you kind of an idea. And then this is the, oh, what's it called? The quilted frame from the release. They're just frame dies that come in the new release that you can get. I'm going to cut this also and make a little border. Give you kind of the gist. My little cat's going to sit up there, and then we'll put our sentiment up here. This is kind of a take on one of the promo cards that they did. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut some of my card off. I'm also going to trim off the white around the edges just because it's a little uneven and I'd rather just cut the whole thing off. That will also give us a little bit of a nice border around our card panel so that we have a little bit of a border on our card. So I'm just going to trim my card to be 4 by 5 1/4. So I'm just going to take basically 1/4 inch off my card. Put my inks up because I'm done with those. Have a little more room. Okay. So I'm just trimming that little white kind of outside border off, which gets us to 4 inches. And then I'm going to make it by 5 1/4. But I'm going to make sure, I'm actually going to make it a little more than 5 1/4 because I don't want to cut into my little textured squares too much. So that'll be just fine. So then we have kind of a cleaner panel. Then though I have to determine how much I want off the top. So I need room for my sentiment on the top and my little green border. So kind of like, let's see, I think right there or one. The nice thing is this squares is giving me a really good border to go with. So I think kind of right about there, and then we'll have our sentiment up here. So it'll kind of look like this. That just gives us a relief, and it also gives us a little more space for our sentiment. So I think right here. So I'm going to cut right along this line. Make sure. Okay. So now it's literally right at 3 inches. I'm going to cut a little more off because I don't want it to be half. I'm going to make sure my white, actually my border will cover that. I think it'll be fine. So I now have 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. I have a 3-inch by 5 1/4. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut this down to match to make my card again 5 1/4 by 4. I hope that makes sense. I'll show it again in a second. So I just need to get, let's see. Two 1/4. Gotta do my math from, gotta remember my math. Okay. So it is gonna get cut off a little. It's not gonna be perfect, but that's all right. The little squares, I mean. Okay, so. So now if I measure, I'm going to sandwich these two together. For right now, I'm going to tape them. They're going to get glued down on the back of on the actual card, so it'll be fine. But since I need kind of to have them together, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to use this frame die. I'm just going to cut it up because we can use it for other things than what it's meant for. I'm going to use that as my little border. Put my cat. And then we will put our sentiment down. Okay. So let me trim. I got too much stuff. Clean up my little space. Push some stuff over. Pretend like my desk is clean. Please tell me I'm not the only one that crafts like this. Okay, I'm going to put some more tape though. Okay. So I'm going to trim this down to 4 inches because that is the width of my card. I'm going to trim the corners off because the corner has a different, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. Uh-oh. It comes apart. Ah, maybe this was not a good idea. Or maybe we need to keep the corners. Okay. I thought I had a plan. All right. Okay, it's fine. I'm going to trim the short side because that's already 4 inches, so it'll be the same thing. I'll just have that different corner design on it, which is fine. This is going to be hard to do in my trimmer. We're going to hand do it. Okay, I'm just snipping right here. You could also just take a strip of cardstock But I was like, let's use this fun border. I didn't get it quite straight. Or let's use the frame as a border. It's not quite straight, but it'll be okay. I could also just use this one. Straighten this out. I'm probably making this more difficult than it is, but that's okay. Okay. I'm like, let me make it straight. Okay. So I'm going to run a strip of glue. I think my little peachy colorful one is slightly bigger than my white one, so I'm going to trim a little bit off that too. It's just a hair bigger because I trimmed it funny, or I trimmed it a little wrong. Okay, just put glue back here. I'm trying to learn how much glue to use with this new glue thing. I don't want it to come up. Just gonna place this right kind of at the bottom. I'm gonna kind of place it over my seam here, and that'll keep my seam together. Huh, my seam, I like my quilting jargon here. Okay, I'm gonna trim a little bit off this edge so it won't matter that that doesn't go to it. I need to put something heavy on here though so that it can dry for a minute. I don't know where my block went because it's in the pile under my desk. Just hold it. Put my tool caddy. Okay, while we're doing that, I want to pick a sentiment. So for this card, we need kind of a skinnier one. And we're going to have to make sure that it fits up top. So our little cat is going to go up here. And then you could also center it and put your sentiment in the bottom. You could do whatever, but I did make the white space up there for a sentiment. Now that I'm looking at it though, that is kind of cute. It defeated the purpose kind of, but I kind of like that too. And then you could do a big center one. I don't know. These are the things you decide when you're mid-project. All right, so we have the bigger set, which don't quite work for this. So I'm gonna go to the little one and do probably You're So Amazing. Let's see if it fits. You're so amazing. We're a little tall, or a little too. I don't know, guys. I think I'm changing my mind. Am I changing my mind? I don't know if I like the sentiment up there. I'm thinking I need to make the white bigger.
So I think I'm gonna make the white bigger and cut more off the patchwork side. Okay. So I just taped the other half of that white that I had left over on there, and I'm just gonna trim it down and cut some of the colorful part on, which I know that's, you know, the whole fun of it, but also I want to make sure we have room for our sentiment. So again, we want our card front to be 5 1/4. So I'm just gonna cut a hair more off. Okay, and you know what? I just made that cut and already I like it better because it's more, it wasn't so even. Now I feel like it's more balanced. Okay, I'm happy now. Whew! Guys, I'm rusty and I was getting a little nervous. And, you know, but I think it's good if you see this in a video because it's okay. Okay, I'm happy there. So now we have room for one of these sentiments as well, which I'm more happy with too. Now, I could have planned my card out before filming this, and that would have been, you know, maybe better than, better for you guys, but, you know, I didn't. So, okay, let's see. I kind of like just thank you, friend. Because that's a little more generic. And then on the inside, I said I usually don't do insides, but on the inside, then we could do the other sentiment, the "You're so amazing," or one of these other ones on here. So I think that's a great idea. Okay, so I'm gonna do this embossing in black again. Let me clean up for a second. All right, I grabbed a coffee filter real quick just for easier cleanup. Let that sit for a second. My air conditioner started now, so even though I don't have my fan on, looks good. Let's emboss it. I just did a rookie move. Did you guys see that? I was embossing near my powder. It's fine, but don't put your heat gun near your open powder there. Okay. We are going to die cut it and finish this card up. Gotta figure the die out again. Perfect on the first try. Haha. Okay. Grab my plates. And I'm going to tape it down just a little bit because it did warp. It didn't warp horribly, but because I kept my heat tool moving and whatnot, but I don't want to have to do it again. So It's warped enough that the magnet's not holding it. Okay. Just run that through my die cutting machine. Remember, I'm going to buff off that white powder that's left on there from my anti-static tool, and then it gets really nice and black again. Looks like I got a little close to the top. It's not too bad though. Okay, let's finish this card. All right, my little pieces came apart. What you can do if you ever cut two panels apart like this, you can tape it, of course, but you could also get a thin piece of like copy paper and just basically, you know, tape it together if you're needing to, you know, work on it. I'm just gonna retape it. Okay. And then I do have a panel of that eucalyptus cardstock that matches the rest of our card, and that is just a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panel. Remember, we cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4, so we're going to have a nice border around the outside. So I'm going to cut that down, place my card on here, and my little sentiment, and then we might do some embellishing. Cute. I think I'm going to pop this panel up. I have some pretty old 3M foam tape that I need to use up. So let's just use that. That way we have a little bit of elevation. Before I do that, let me just run a strip of paper along here to give it some support. Okay, I've got my card base. I'll move some stuff out of the way. I still don't know where I put my magnet, so that's unfortunate. But let me actually grab a magnet. I have more than one MISTI, so I'm gonna steal the magnet from another MISTI. Okay, so here's my top folding card. I'm gonna stamp the sentiment on the inside. So our outside says, "Thank you, friend." On the inside, let's do "Life's a quilt and you're my favorite piece." I'm just gonna eyeball the center. If you want, you can grab your T-square ruler and kind of line it up, but I'm just gonna eyeball it. There's like stuff stuck to it, extra spool stuck to it. I'm just looking at the top line of text because that is straight. That looks pretty good. Again, I'm gonna rub the stamp. And let's just stamp it in that juniper ink. I love that color. If you haven't guessed, I love juniper from Concord and 9th. We may need to double stamp it, but that's where the MISTI is great. Yeah, it's not too bad. Zoom in. I'm gonna stamp it one more time though. And then again, it'll smooth out when it dries. When you're stamping text on a MISTI, you don't want to press too hard and like blow out your text lines, especially when they are really, really tiny text. The middle of favorite didn't quite get hit. So you want to kind of do a gentle press. There we go. So it's a pretty dark version of Juniper, but I like that for the text. So that is so cute. I love it. All right. Let that kind of dry for a second. The worst part now is I gotta clean my craft room. Okay. All right. Our spools are dry. Our cat's dry. Our sentiment's dry. Let's put the last bit together. If you are still here watching, thank you so much. I was super nervous about this. I'm rusty. I've never done a card tutorial. I know this is long. But again, it's real crafting. Real crafting. Let me know though if you like kind of more real-time videos. Obviously, as I get better, they'll be, you know, more concise and put together and, you know, planned out. But, or do you like them when they are more short videos that are kind of voiced over, that are making one card? Do you like cards with multiple, or videos with multiple cards in them? Do you like videos that are just techniques? Would you want a video that's just, you know, basics or a specific topic? Let me know. I am obviously not a professional card maker, but I find joy in it. I think this turned out so cute, and I think anyone would be happy to receive it. And, you know, again, if you buy products like this, you don't have to buy the whole release or just buy a few things, but they make it so easy. If I wasn't talking to you guys today and recording and, you know, having interruptions and things, this would be a super fast card. So anyways, let's look at both of them. I've still got to stamp the back of this one with my little personal stamp, but we have the silhouette cat with the quilted florals in the background. So sweet. And the thank you friend with the die cut stenciled cat, and then the patchwork stenciling at the bottom. So yeah, I'm super happy. And then I have so many more cards I need and want to make. Let me know if you want more cards with this specific release, because I didn't even really get to the notions. I didn't get to the postage collage. But I'm happy to put together some other videos, and I can do some shorter ones too that are voiced over if that's a preference. But yeah, I'm just so... my cup is so filled right now because I got to make some cards today. So I'm super happy. So thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit the like button, and you can subscribe to my channel for obviously hopefully more crafting and card making videos in the future, my sewing updates, obviously my floss tube, of course. But yeah, I really appreciate if you spent any amount of time with me today, even if it was just a small amount. I appreciate you checking out my video, and I hope to see you in the future. Thanks and have a good day. Bye.